Donald Henry Gaskins, the man who is known for his gruesome killing and also known as the meanest man in America, Pee Wee Gaskins, and the redneck Charles Manson. Gaskins was born in March 13, 1933 in Florence County, Florida, where he mostly resided with his mother. While living with his mother, he was neglected and had no supervision, while his various stepfathers gave him several beatings. Then in the year 1946, Donald decided to drop out of school and go straight to work. He worked thorough days at a garbage dump near his family farm. Shortly after starting work at the garbage dump, Gaskins was sent to a reform school in Toronto, Canada. The reason for his attendance was because he was a very tempered child and had different mental disorders. Donald was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, which is a mental condition in which a person has a long-term pattern of manipulating the rights of others. He was also diagnosed with a narcissistic disorder and psychopathic personality. Donald would fight other kids if he was being bullied. He committed several burglaries and was sent to a mental hospital after he reportedly beat up a night guard while attending high school back home. While attending reform school, he was raped several times by his other inmates, and it was very easy for them to do so because of his small size and stature. These acts eventually led him to escape to school after the first year. At the age of 13, he returned and finished at the school in 1951. After finishing reform school, Gaskins had returned home and met a girl named Mary. Mary and Donald then got married, and because of Donald's neglected mother, he chose to stay with Mary's family instead. Life was good, and Gaskins got a job at a construction site. Then in the year 1970, after years of being on constant parole, Gaskins had committed his first serious murder, where he allegedly murdered two women. The two victims that were part of this crime were two girls. One was his niece named Janice Kirby, who was 15 years old, and her good friend Patricia Alsbrook, who was only 17 as well. Donald killed only for personal reasons. The two girls had mocked Gaskins, they had stolen from him, and they owed him money on top of that. 3 years later, Donald committed yet another gruesome act of violence when he raped and murdered two of his close neighbors. The victims, Doreen Dempsey, who was 23 years old, and was 8 months pregnant with a 2-year-old child, who was the other unfortunate victim. Gaskins also took part in a murder where he was reportedly hired to locate and kill the boyfriend of a woman named Suzanne Kipper in February of 1975. When November 14th, 1975 came around, a criminal associate named Walter Neely had told police that he witnessed Gaskins murdering Dennis Bellamy, who was 28, and Johnny Knight, who was 15, were just innocent victims who had nothing to do with Gaskins. Later, police had found out that he had used a hammer in order to kill the victims. Donald was immediately found and arrested after the murders that he had committed in a 5-year span from the years 1970 to 1975. Finally, Gaskins was ordered to indicate where the buried bodies were located at the land he owned in Prospect, South Carolina. As a result, police found 8 of the missing bodies that are claimed as his victims. With the amount of times that Gaskins had been convicted of the multiple murders that he was at fault for, he was not able to go against trial. In 1976, Gaskins was charged with 8 counts of murder and a death sentence which was converted to 7 life sentences. Finally, Donald Henry Gaskins was finally assured the death penalty after he was found guilty for being paid to murder fellow prisoner Rudolph Tinner in 1978. Gaskins initially made several unsuccessful attempts to kill Tinner by poisoning his food and drink water before he decided to use explosives to kill him. In order to accomplish this, Gaskins rigged a device in Tinner's death row cell and told Tinner this would allow him to communicate between cells. Gaskins then detonated the explosives from his cell and killed Tinner. As a result of the circumstances, Donald Gaskins received the death penalty when it was officially restored. Prior to his death sentence, Gaskins attempted to kill himself by cutting his arms with a razor blade that he stored in his mouth earlier in the day. They were able to save him before the electric chair by giving him 20 stitches, but in the end, on the date of September 6, 1991, at the age of 58, Donald Pee Wee Gaskins was executed by the electric chair. He became the 245th South Carolina prisoner to be executed by the electric chair.